calling yourself hard to love, and that ain't the truth. The people who struggle to love you were never equipped to hold you properly. Stop turning somebody else's limitations into your own identity. That was the wrong room, the wrong people, and the wrong hands trying to carry something they didn't have the capacity for. You've been calling yourself hard to love, and that ain't the truth. The people who struggle to love you were never equipped to hold you properly. Stop turning somebody else's limitations into your own identity. That was the wrong room, the wrong people, and the wrong hands trying to carry something they didn't have the capacity for. Could we have a real conversation today? Not the motivational type. I'm talking about a real talk, no fluff kind of conversation. Can we? Trying to become ourselves and quietly wondering why it still feels like we're fighting to be chosen, fighting to be seen, and fighting to prove that we're not too much. Feeling like you're hard to love is not a character trait. It's not who you are. It's a response to being placed in rooms that were never built to hold you. And there's a difference about these two things that clearly need to be said. We're going to get personal and we're going to talk about 3 rooms today. And I want you to stay with me through all 3. Because that third one is where we mostly recognize ourselves. And it's also the hardest one to say out loud. Room number 1, the becoming. When people talk about becoming yourself, the conversation normally sounds like a rebuild. Kind of like you're starting from scratch. Or like putting something together from broken pieces. And I want to challenge that, because that mindset has people out here doing work they were never supposed to do. The version of you that people feel when they walk into a room with you, could I tell you that she has always been there? She didn't leave and she didn't need to be built. We were just placed in rooms over and over that couldn't receive her. And when a room can't receive you, when a room can't hold you, then you start believing that you're actually the problem. That all of a sudden, you're the thing that needs fixing. That if you could adjust enough, make yourself easier to manage, make yourself smaller, make yourself more acceptable, that maybe the room would finally open up. I'm here to tell you, that's a lie. 3 rooms, 3 versions of the same lie, and the truth has been sitting underneath them this whole time. Could I introduce you to the becoming? Let's start at the beginning, because it's the room that none of us choose. Family. I want you to think about what it felt like to watch somebody else in that room be celebrated, get held, get love and attention, and the reaction that you were quietly hoping for yourself. And of course, in that moment, your mind started doing the math. I know you asked yourself, well, what do they got that I don't? What are they doing that I'm not? And the answer that you landed on, because it was the only one that made sense at the time, was that you must not be that easy to love. And this is the part we often don't talk about. That answer didn't just sit there. It got into your mind and your body, and it moved with you. It changed how you walked into every room after that. So what did you do? Of course, you learned. You learned early that certain parts of you weren't welcomed at the table. All of a sudden, your feelings were too much. Your questions would always shift people in a way that made the room feel uncomfortable. So what did you do? You packed it away. And then you became the one who didn't need anything. You now became the one who held it together. The one who kept themselves managed so the room would stay comfortable. When it gets shaped into a room like that, self-worth don't look like confidence. It looks like performance. It looks like becoming whatever the room needs so the room will keep you. And I know at some point you made the quiet decision. You definitely didn't announce it, especially not with no red carpet. It was just a slow and steady pullback. For whatever reason, you kept your distance. And it was not a bitterness. It was out of knowing that every time that you walked fully into that room, you were leaving something behind. And after a while, you ran out of things to leave. And could I tell you, that's not dysfunction, that's wisdom. Healing from a family dynamic that can never heal you starts with understanding that their inability to see you was never a reflection of your value. They gave you what they had, but what they had was not enough for who you are. I'm about to tell you what that room handed you on your way out. They handed you a belief that you didn't even know you were carrying. A belief about how much of yourself is okay to bring into a space. And you took that belief and you walked it straight into another room. That was one of the rooms that were supposed to be different. That was a room that was supposed to be safe. And I got an amen, somebody. We about to talk about room number 2, the faith space, the church, the community, the room that was supposed to hold what the family room couldn't. Could I tell you that I've sat in church in seasons that were generally heavy, and I've raised my hands and said, oh yeah, I'm good, and I've smiled with people who, if they actually knew what I was carrying, wouldn't have known what to do with it. So I protected both of us and said I was fine. And could I tell you the thing about that? That's performing like you belong. Church hurt is real, because it's the specific pain of performing okayness in a room where you were supposed to be able to put it all down. But hold on a minute, because it goes way deeper than just performing. Y'all know that underneath that, there was something else sitting quietly. A feeling that my past, the messy parts, were not clean enough for a testimony. And could I tell you that that will have you feeling that you don't fully belong? Grace was available in the room, just not for the version of me that showed up with the real stuff. There was levels to it, and the real me was in the wrong one. So of course I gave them the version they could handle. And y'all know we be doing that week after week. And that specific kind of feeling lonely, feeling cut off from the room that's supposed to be your community, carries a shame that's hard to put into words too. It has you feeling like you should be grateful to be there. So you stay quiet, you stay small, and you stay acceptable. I need you to know that you deserve better. And desiring better was not you being difficult. It was you knowing what grace is actually supposed to feel like. even when nobody in that room was showing it. Now, of course, they couldn't show it because you didn't tell them. But the ones who knew still ain't show it. And then, of course, after that, I walked into one more room. And in this room, I told myself, I choose. Room number 3, the relationship. Stay with me now. Remember I told you in the beginning to stay with me? Because this is where it gets juicy. I would have a need, something real, something that made complete sense. And I would bring it up because that's what we all do. The moment I felt the energy in the room shift, because what am I doing? Bringing it up, right? I would start talking faster, adding more context, watering it down, always trying to present it in a way that would make it land softer. And could I tell you that by the time I was done, I talked to myself completely out of my own needs, telling myself, don't worry about it, it's not important. That maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe I was the problem. That maybe this is just what toxic relationship patterns feels like when you've been in it long enough. I don't know. At some point, you stop being able to tell what's yours and what isn't. And how often mid-conversation, the moment you feel something shift, you shrink yourself. In real time, you'll be watching yourself doing it, and you're still doing it anyways. Because after all, shrinking felt safer than taking up space and being told you're too much. And then I stayed. And I'm laughing now because I stayed. But a lot of us don't say that part out loud. And I'm not gonna lie, because it's honesty over here. As I got older, there was a part of me that knew. But I feel like I couldn't piece it together. I couldn't put a name to it. It's like you felt the discernment in your belly. You knew something was wrong. You knew something was off. But for whatever reason, you stayed. I was trying to build something real with someone who was working with limited materials. They had the tools. Who couldn't even give me back what I was bringing. And I'm gonna tell you, I stayed anyway. Because maybe leaving felt like it was confirming my story. I don't know. Back then, I ain't know no better, so you can't blame me for what was back then. I know better now, so I'm operating better now. But y'all know that is a part that y'all is probably not telling yourself out loud. That you're sitting in it right now and you're staying because it feels safer. If I can't make this work with everything that I'm giving, maybe I was the thing that really needed fixing. They never be having a word to say. Y'all know who they is. The way certain conversations got cut short before they can go anywhere real, I took every single one of them silences and turned it into a story about myself. That some way, somehow, I was a lot to carry. That attracting the wrong people was what my life was destined for. I was the one who needed to change. And I'm not saying that we don't need to be doing work on ourselves. We convince ourselves that we the problem, that we too much, that we not good enough, that we hard to love. And I'm gonna tell you now, they didn't have the tools. You can't build something lasting with someone who don't got the tools. And that's not about you. That's just about being in the wrong room. And this is where I stop talking to you and start talking about me. Well, I already was talking about me. But because I've lived all these 3 rooms, I know what it is to watch somebody in my own family get celebrated and quietly do the math. I know what it is to sit in a fake space performing okayness while carrying something real underneath it. And I definitely know what it is to love somebody who just couldn't love me back in the capacity that I needed. To stay, to shrink, to water my own needs down until they started to feel like things I needed to fix about myself. Somewhere across all of this, I built my story. That I was difficult, that I was hard to love, that something about who I am made closeness complicated. And I wore that story like it was a fact, like it was who I was. I know I just unpacked a whole lot on y'all, so let's take a breath. Woosah. I know better now. It was never a fact. It was a conclusion I drew from rooms that were never built to hold me. One is who you are and the other is where you are. And I'm gonna tell you, those two ain't the same thing. Can I tell you what I had to learn about becoming myself? I'm still becoming, because we're truly never done. And I needed to stay locked in, because this is the part that changes how you move. Not everything that broke in those rooms was supposed to be fixed. The version of you that shrank, apologized, and watered yourself down to fit, that version of you was not your real self. That was your survival self, and it served a purpose. It kept you safe. It got you through, but it's not where you're going back to. You pruned her like a plant. You can't stand over the dead branches grieving. You gotta cut them. You gotta make room for what's actually meant to grow. Returning to yourself, which is what becoming actually is. It's not something you build. It's something you remove. Letting go of beliefs that belong to other people. Putting down shame that was never yours to carry. Releasing the version of yourself that existed just to make other people feel comfortable. It's time to cut it and make room. You were never hard to love, but being in the wrong room made it look hard. Being around people who didn't have the capacity to hold you made it look complicated. But when I think about the people and the rooms that have actually seen me, the ones where I don't have to over-explain, the ones where I don't have to earn my place, the ones where I don't have to be a smaller version of anything, there's no effort in it. Absolutely none. It just feels easy. Because that's what it's supposed to feel like. It's not supposed to feel like you're being tolerated or managed. Someone who just holds it without having to ask twice, that's the standard. That's what learning to love yourself actually points towards. The right rooms, the right people, the ones who don't need you to explain yourself. The problem was never you. It was always the room. Now it's time for me to take it all the way back with a reset. Here's your reset for this week. 4 things only. Name the room and say it out loud. Next, write down one belief that room gave you. And next to it, write who it actually belongs to. What I mean by that is, call them out in your journal, that is. Next, I want you to look at where you're still shrinking. Is it a person, a space, a situation? And then ask yourself, is it worth what it's costing me? And then just sit with this next one. What would I ask for if I actually felt I deserved it? I don't want you to answer it. I want you to just sit with it. That's where the healing starts, and that's where becoming yourself actually begins. Let me seal that with the affirmation. I'm not broken, and I'm not too much. I was just in the wrong room. And I'm not starting over. I'm returning to myself. Could I ask you to do me a small favor? Share this, and then drop room in the comments. Someone needs this today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!